Have you ever watched someone you love succeed and felt something you are ashamed of? Not because you wanted them to fail, but because every time they rose, you felt the distance between you grow. This is the story of Tolu and Ade, two friends from the same street, the same dream, and what happened when only one of them started living it. They grew up on Abeokuta Road, a cracked street in Lagos where the tar split every rainy season and nobody fixed it. They wore the same worn-out school shoes. They shared the same dream, a short film on a festival screen, an audience who understood something they had made with their own hands. On the same afternoon, at the same cyber cafe, their elbows almost touching, they filled out their university forms. They both got in. They both chose Phil. I used to love that we wanted the same thing. I didn't know yet that wanting the same thing as someone can quietly become the most dangerous kind of love. In their first year, they made everything together. Ade had the ideas. Tolu had the discipline. Together, they felt like something complete. Then came the competition. Lagos International Short Film Festival. They both entered separate pieces for the first time. Ade won. Not just won, swept. The jury called his film a rare, visceral debut. There were interviews, his name in print again and again. Tolu received an honorable mention in a category she did not know existed. I told him congratulations. I said it clearly, standing right in front of him, and I meant it. I think I meant it. But there was something underneath the words. Something I didn't look at directly. Something that felt like hunger. Like standing outside a warm room, watching through the glass. The next year, a fellowship. Then a commission. Then his first proper budget.
His name on a poster. Each thing came fast. The way success does when it finally arrives. All at once. Like a flood. Tolu kept making things. Smaller things. She told herself she preferred the intimacy of low-budget work. She said it so many times, it started to sound almost true. What I couldn't say was this, that every time Ade succeeded, I felt it as a verdict. Like the universe was marking a paper with both sat. And I kept seeing his score and not mine. And the distance seemed to be about more than talent. It seemed to be about woof. People think envy is loud, ugly, obvious. They imagine the person who sneers, who lets the bitterness show on their face. But Tolu's envy was quiet. It looked like loyalty. She showed up to every premiere, shared every post. She praised his work to people who hadn't asked, with a generosity that took real effort. Nobody knew. Not even Ade. That was the part that frightened me most. How completely I had learned to perform warmth I no longer fully felt. I had become so good at being his friend on the outside that I lost track of what was happening on the inside. Then came the night of his biggest premiere, his first feature. Red carpet, industry people. Tolu was there, as she always was. A journalist stopped her at the entrance. You're his friend, right? What's it like watching someone you grew up with become this successful? Tolu opened her mouth to say something kind. What came out instead was silence. 3 full seconds of it. Just long enough to be strange. And in those 3 seconds, she hurt herself. Really hurt herself. For the first time in years. I realized, standing there under those lights, that I had built my entire understanding of myself around his trajectory.
every step he climbed, I measured against my own feet and found them still. I had let his success become the mirror I judged myself in.
And that wasn't his fault. He had never asked me to stand in his shadow. I had walked there myself because it was easier than standing alone in open light, where I might have to find out what I was actually made of. She told him, not everything, but enough. They sat in his car outside the venue at midnight, the city still buzzing around them. And Tolu said quietly that she needed some distance, that she loved him, that she was proud of him, and that somewhere in the middle of all that pride, she had misplaced herself. Ade didn't argue. He didn't fill the silence with reassurances. He sat with it the way you sit with something true and uncomfortable. And then he said, I wondered for a long time. That undid me a little. That he had known, or at least suspected, and had never pushed. Had given me the space to find it myself. That is its own kind of love. The kind that knows when not to reach. They hold. Long. The kind you give someone when you are not sure what comes next. Then Tolu walked to her car, drove home through the Lagos night, and sat in her own silence for a long time. She cried. Not with grief, or not only with grief, but with the strange relief of finally putting something down that you had been carrying so long. You forgot it wasn't yours to carry. They still talk. Birthdays. Occasionally a voice note. Ade sent her a message the week her first short film got into a festival. 4 words. This is all you. She keeps it. I used to think the end of closeness meant the end of love. But I know now that some friendships are not built to be lived in daily. Some are meant to be honored. Deeply. Genuinely. From a little way away. Where you can see the whole shape of the person without being lost in it. Where you can want good things for them and still finally want good things for yourself. That is not a lesser friendship. It is just an honest one. If this story stayed with you, if you've ever stood in someone else's shadow without meaning to, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories like this every week.